So this is what we created at the end of the Arch creation chapter earlier in the DVD. Now you might be asking yourself, why did I even go through a 3D program to do it? Being a texture artist for EA for a few years, I had access to, Maya and Photoshop, and between using the two programs, trying to make this shape and have the texture curve around, I've found to be extraordinarily difficult to get done inside of Photoshop, but it takes mere minutes to do in Maya or whatever other 3D program you're using. However, I also understand that many people who are watching this may not have access to such software. Even software like, what's it called, Hash or Power Animator, which is much less expensive than Maya. I'm sure that many people still don't have this. So we will create an arch inside of Photoshop without using any 3D or any other program. So we're just going to create it strictly in Photoshop. Alright, so we'll go ahead and open up the texture. So again, we'll use this texture and start from a blank canvas. So there are two ways to do this. The first way to do this is to do it entirely through marquee selection and layer masks. I'll go ahead and do that one first. It's probably the easiest way to do it, but it doesn't curve the texture around at all. Now, with a texture like this, does it really need to be curved? Probably not. And do stones really curve? Maybe not. So probably the gain from going into a 3D application for your uses, it may not actually be worth it to you. So go ahead and I'll take this layer, bring it over here, minimize that, kind of zoom out a little bit, and start zooming in. So I want this to be I want the stones to be relatively small. Maybe a little bit larger than that. About right there, that works. Okay, great, I'll hit enter. And I'll just start tiling this over. Bring my layers in. Okay, I've got that. It's all tiled over. Nice and neat. Take these, link these together. Now I'll hit Control E to merge linked. Now move these up. Do it once more. Take that. Control E. So now we've got our stones. Alright. And now we can begin a series of drawing guides. It looks like I have a few too many guides here, so I'll go ahead and clear my guides out, which is right here, clear guides. And what I want, let's plan this out in a new layer. So this final arch, it's got that nice shape right in there, kind of curvy shape, so we'll bust out the old toolbox, get our elliptical shape marquee tool, and create an arch of our design. Actually, what I'll go ahead and do is, there's a few ways to do this. I can create this in a circle, and from here make a new, solid color, white's fine. Now if I don't want a perfect circle, I can create a nice ellipse, just like that. turn this down a little bit. And making sure that we have that layer selected. Come over to the sides right here. And now we'll just make a box. Oh, get the rectangle marquee. Turn on snap to guides and grids. Okay, so we've got an interior shape. Now, I'll just take this little section right here. So I control select that. Make a new solid color. This one I'll make this one real dark. Just for fun, set it to multiply. We don't need to do that. And now we'll take these, we can bring these in, just like this. What I'm doing right now is setting up the actual arch itself. So all this white area will be the arch. My arch is too skinny, I can link everything together. Notice I have the two layers linked and each layer mask linked to the fill color layers. And I can start pulling these out. You probably have to take this one and pull this out just a little bit more. Maybe bring it down just a little hint. So now, if I control select this layer and control alt select, remember the alt select removes or pulls away from, and if you have a look at the hand you can see right now there's that little minus sign in the hand. So control alt select this, hide these two, select this layer, and we've now got an arch. So that, I think, is probably one of the quickest ways to do this in Photoshop. Alright, and if you wanted to, like we did in earlier chapters, we can actually go in and brush out small parts. So I'm going to create a background real quick. You can come right in here. Just brush out small parts of this. Just like that. And if you don't want to do that, maybe you didn't like that, there you go. So that's one way to do this. The other way to do it involves a little bit longer process. I'm cutting and pasting, but it also includes the liquify tool. So if you're a big fan of the liquify tool, then this section is for you. Alright, so what I'll do, so I've got these parts done. I'm going to start this next part from the base of these legs right here. So I'll just take this. Actually, I'll just dupe this layer and in a layer mask. Cut these parts out. Throw away the layer mask and apply. There we are. So what I'll do now is take a section. Take this section, probably the section right there. It's a great section. Control C. Control V, paste that. Move it up here right in the middle. I'll E, A, 9 for rotate 90 degrees. I'm going to zoom in on this. There we go. So what I need to do now this method is if you don't have a 3D program and you want to try and approximate how a texture would curl around. So how it would start here and snake around, and by the time it got back down to here, then it'd be upside down. So if keeping that curvature in the texture was important to you, and you needed to do it strictly through Photoshop, I'd probably take an approach more like this. You know, maybe you'll modify it to your personal workflow, but this is what I would recommend. So take this, and what I'll start doing in here, so I'll come in right here, do a little bit of this, because what I'm about to start doing is I'm about to take this, move one here, one here, one here, one here, and rotate each of these. I'm going to turn on auto select layer real quick. So this is one way to do it, and instead of doing it just like that, there's actually another very quick way as well. One minor problem with this is that these are going to overlap. So the texture is still kind of in chunks and it's not so much in parts. Let's go ahead and finish this out real quick. So it's a very quick way to do this. One of the drawbacks to this, of course, is right now each one of these pieces is the exact same piece. Not too much of a problem because I can just turn these into selection masks. Let me turn off auto select layer and move this right here to the top. But again, if I do this, then I don't get that kind of warpy, bendy feeling. And then I would come in here, I'd probably merge all these layers. Control E, merge that, and paint out. And it seems somehow I have the erase tool turned on, so go right back to brush. There we go. Paint this out. Touch that up, make it nice and pretty. Now these areas right in here, if you wanted to curve that out, I don't know how steady your hand is. It isn't that steady. So you can take this little section right here, apply that, and then bring this whole upper part into the liquify tool. And it takes a little bit of time to think. The liquify tool is very cool. Not very precise, but very cool. So I've got these corners, these sharp edges to edges. So I've got this brush, this forward warp tool. I'll just take this, kind of push some parts in. Make it nice and smooth. And I do the same to the outer edges. Kind of get rid of those corners. Push in on those corners out there. Oh. Pull out on the flat sections. So I can just smooth things out there. There we go. And that is another way to solve this. Hit OK. There we go. So if we went back and had a look, you know, that's before and that's after. So there's this little nugget right down here to clean up, and you know, that's not an issue. So a small derivation on this method that I just showed you would be to take a section, right there in the middle, and this time push a piece in, pull a part out, start to give it an angular effect. In this way, when you start putting these together, they line up a little bit better. So it looks like the original angle I used was a little bit too much, so I can just undo, try that again, pull that in, not so much as before. Now that's a much smaller angle. And with an arc like that, this will take forever to bend in. There we go. You can move these parts up to match. Take this top part, maybe move it up just a little bit. And got that one. We can duplicate this and flip the horizontals. And same with this one down here at the bottom. Flip the horizontal. just move this leg right back. So we've created that. We can take each one of these pieces, move it down. And now that we're back to this point, we can go right back into Liquify. And just like before, start pushing and pulling. If we didn't want to go through Liquify, if this was too slow for us or you didn't like the imprecision of it, then you can marriage this method with the first method that I showed you, which would be to create selection masks around this and just cut out from the inside. Alright, bring this tail in just a little bit more. So, those are various stone arches. Oh yeah, and like I was telling you earlier, you could take move this around and change that selection area. So you could actually turn this into, I'll get the channels out here real quick. You could make this a selection mask, turn this on, bring this in so it kind of fits over that a little bit better, maybe scale it down. Scale it down so that it isn't too, is small enough so that it cuts out from inside there. And however you want to work this is up to you, but these are like 3 ways of getting this done. 2 or 3 ways at least. So Control select that, come right over to layers, and there. So now we've made a little bit more circular. And that concludes this appendix. Thank you very much.